Thank you. The gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. And addressing the comments of Ms. Wagner, most of the studies I've seen, and obviously Secretary of Treasury has seen far more, indicates that increases in corporate income taxes are not passed through to consumers, but that the incidence of that tax is borne by those who invest capital, and which is disproportionately the top 1%. In contrast, sales taxes are passed through to consumers. I want to use most of my 5 minutes just to bring to the attention of our two august witnesses some matters that I hope will merit their personal attention in the days to come. Madam Secretary, your predecessor committed to me from a foreign policy standpoint that the Treasury Department would put a reasonable amount of lawyer hours into doing a tax treaty with Armenia. And I hope that that policy will continue now that the Yerevan government is ready to proceed, having had some discord in the past. Madam Secretary, you have delayed till May 17th, the April 15th deadline for Form 1040. It's very important that you do the same for the first of the four Form 1040-ES, the estimated tax payments voucher that is usually prepared at the same time and is so important to gig workers. Madam Secretary, 2 days ago, the IRS issued a report indicating that 1/5 of the earnings of the top 1% are going untaxed. I hope very much that you'll work with Congress to replace and restore the 15,000 enforcement officers that the IRS has lost in the past decade. I used to head the second largest tax agency in our country, and it's clear that putting more effort into tax collection, particularly from the top 1%, will collect many more times the cost in additional revenue, and will, I think, add to our social cohesion because wage earners are paying their taxes. Madam Secretary, I hope you'll focus on a letter from the state of California of May 19th, desperately needing guidance on the Recovery Act, especially showing that a decision by California to conform to federal law. So federal law recently is very generous to the PPP small businesses. If California conforms to that law, that isn't regarded as a tax decrease violative of the provisions of the Recovery Act that say that states should not be using those funds to cut taxes. Chairman Powell, we've talked a lot about wire fraud. Your staff has told me they don't plan to solve the problem. I hope you get personally involved in making sure our new wire transfer system does solve the problem. And Chairman Powell, I want to commend you for your statement yesterday that the Fed will not proceed with creating a new central bank digital currency without the support of Congress. And I don't think you'll have that support unless the know your customer provisions are applicable to this new system and it doesn't become useful to tax evaders, terrorists, drug dealers, et cetera. Madam Secretary, believe it or not, I do have a question. Chairman Powell, when he was last before us last month, testified before this committee that federal legislation is necessary to fix the legacy LIBOR contracts so that they can continue to function after the LIBOR index is no longer published by our friends in London. Secretary Yellen, would you agree with Chairman Powell that Congress will need to act to provide for a smooth transition for these $2 trillion in contracts?
Yes, I would agree. There are certain legacy contracts where the transition could be difficult without legislation. And so these are contracts that don't provide for a workable fallback rate. And so I think Congress does need to provide legislation for the LIBOR transition.
Thank you. And in my remaining time, Can you address the issue of states that are conforming their laws to their income tax laws to federal income tax law? Is that going to be regarded as a violation of the Recovery Act?
We're working to provide guidelines on what will and won't count, and it's premature for me until we've completed that to offer you an answer on the specifics.
Please, it's
We'll
critical.
do it quickly.
Thank you very much. The gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Lucas, you are recognized for 5 minutes.